Folks, Star Citizen is an MMO, but that does mean both group and solo gameplay, and honestly, to make either of those things happen, you need better social tools. They're pretty bad. Today we're going to look at a few of the social tools I think might come to Star Citizen in 2026 because they have been highlighted on the letter from the chairman, we've seen it in a monthly report, and there has been a whole CitizenCon presentation on it. It has been a little while, but we're getting to this point where not a lot of the things they want to do are going to be possible without better voice communications. And there's a reason they've been bad. They were actually designed for a time when there were only 50 people in the server. Just like with the star map, it took them a while to move on from that model, and I think it's taken them too long with this. But it is going to happen, because now they've reached a server meshed environment, there are more people in each shard, they have to get this moved into a new system because there's a new game. Generally, they're making these systems for the game at hand, so it's a good sign we've moved on from the whole 4.0 slowdown. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is a friends list revamp. We've already seen that the ability to block people and mute people is starting to be brought into the game now. I know this is a little controversial, so we won't spend time on that. Just know it is becoming a reality. But in addition to the blocked and muted list, you have the friends list. You also have a shoot on sight list. So they're going to let you list people that you don't really want to be able to talk to, or if you jump into like a dynamic event that's instanced or something, you won't get match made with those people as much. They can still interact with you, just, communication wise, you can keep people from annoying the heck out of you all the time. But you can also have a list of people who just show hostile to you automatically. You'll also be able to put notes on your friends so you know who they are, and you can see their location so you know where they are, tracking you all the way down to the seat that they are in their ship. That's not true unless they're in your party, but it is still a possibility. In fact, let's talk about the party. So you're also going to get a different party system now. You're going to be able to have multiple parties. You can have chat rooms with those parties. You can get a ready or not ready button like you would expect in a game like this. To be honest, a lot of these are the kind of things you'd expect in an MMO, which is kind of the whole point of the development right now. And if you're not social enough to maybe have your own party, I'm not judging. Some of us prefer weirder things in space. But you can find other people that are into that stuff because looking for group is becoming a thing. And it's actually not bad. The idea behind it is that you'll be able to select different contracts, the size of the parties you need, and obviously you can specify a reputation rating, which we're going to get to a little bit later, but obviously you need to make sure that the people you're going to get in your party aren't going to shoot you in the back. This is going to be especially useful for things like the Siege of Orison instanced event that's coming up, or the new tactical strike groups that are definitely going to require people to party up to take on. Now, I know there's a big solo versus group gameplay argument to be made. I think there should be content made for both preferably solo and preferably group-based people. But sometimes you are a solo player who wants to jump into a group and you don't have a group already. This looking for group system should be really, really helpful for that kind of thing. And I think it's going to be extra useful when we consider the beacons we're going to talk about later. Let's take a step back though first and think about voice and text chat, because that's probably the most basic thing we should have, and it's still terrible. But lo and behold, we are going to have a chat window that's customizable. Yes, that's right, with different text and styles. No, but there are actually some really nice features here. They're going to be able to make multiple tabs so you can have specific groups that you're chatting with and keep them all organized. And organization sounds. Sorry. You're also going to be able to link things in the chat. So locations, contracts, even people, you can kind of hyperlink so people can click on it and easily access whatever it is you're referencing. In addition to that, voice chat is supposed to be getting a pretty major overhaul, but when we did get the information on this back at CitizenCon, it got like 2 minutes out of the overall 8-minute segment. The rest of it was all about FOIP, so I don't know how much of a priority this is for them, but it needs to be a high one, because we need to be able to just talk to people when we run into them. That's like the first step beyond shoot first. Please, CIG. I do think this is going to be happening soon, for what it's worth. Like I said, there's a lot of content coming in this new year that's going to be based around getting into groups to do stuff. Now, all of these social features up until this point have been very based on interacting with other people. But one of the biggest things Star Citizen is supposedly going to do is allow us to interact with people and kind of filter out the folks we don't want. Obviously, this is something many games have tried. We'll see how Star Citizen does with it. We've talked plenty about reputation and how that's supposed to work with security and not being allowed to do certain things in the game when it comes to NPCs, but player v player reputation is going to be handled with things like beacons. Now, you're going to have guide beacons and service beacons. Obviously, guide beacons are just going to be the same guide system from the website brought into the game. Thank God we're starting to get things actually in front of players. How many people play this game without ever going to the website, right? So first, you're going to have guide beacons, which are going to allow you to offer your services or to get some help on learning something in the game. Hopefully. But how do you make sure that person's not just going to hire you and then you up right after? Well, there are a couple of things. First, there is going to be some kind of reputation associated with how agreeable you are during beacons. Service beacons, aside from those guide beacons, are going to be more focused on your ability to refuel somebody, rescue somebody, transport something for somebody, haul some cargo, or find some goods. These are the things that maybe you want to build a base, or you want to craft something, or get something done, but you don't like that part of the gameplay, or you don't have a ship for it. So you outsource that work to somebody else via a service beacon. So, service and guide beacons. Every time you take one of these, you have a rating system that adjusts based on how you do and how you perform. You're going to have platinum, which is a very small amount of people who do really, really good at their job. Think the fuel rats from Elite Dangerous. Then you have gold, silver, and bronze, which are your varying levels of helpfulness. And honestly, I do think that this offers a wide range of ability to filter out the people who are doing the bad stuff, because at the very bottom is the red zone, where obviously you're going to be if you get a lot of negative reviews. But this isn't the only way you're getting rated. You also get rated chronologically based on how the encounter goes. So it'll show some level of the last number of beacons you've run. In the example, they have 5. And it'll give you an idea of how many of those were a success, how many of them were neutral, and how many of them something actually went bad on. So you could understand maybe somebody has a bad rating, but their last 5 have been good. So maybe they've actually turned a new leaf. Can you turn leaves in space? Don't know. But I don't think this is going to be a foolproof rating system. Obviously, things will slip through the cracks, but this does seem like it's a good start towards making players trust each other, getting players to be a little more social and helpful towards each other, and hopefully inspiring an actually thriving player economy. Because that's kind of where we're headed with all the crafting stuff, and believe me, that's a big part of this push. The last bit about reputation is the most interesting, that it will actually change based on your own organization's reputation, and your rep with your org will change based on what you do with their allies. This is a whole deep thing, and honestly, if there were anything from today we've talked about that probably wouldn't come in 2026, it'd be the org stuff, which is why I saved it for last. Orgs are important to Star Citizen. I have one, but I'm mainly a solo player. That being said, I understand how having an organization based around player needs and player wants and a kind of similar code of understanding in the game can be beneficial to a lot of people. That's why we've made GII a kind of background for people to use. Orgs kind of get a bad rap. A lot of people think they're just mil-spec or RP or exclusive or just really hardcore. Most of them are pretty casual and just kind of trying to find their feet if they're not just a single page of information and a couple folks playing together on a Discord. I'm kind of ranting here, but my point is you should try and find an org just to see how they are. You can always leave, join others, and take your pick. They're not exclusive. Find a group of people you like. Anyways, the org tools that are supposed to be coming into the game are actually pretty useful. Again, like I said, there's a reputation that you get based on how you're doing with org's allies, but you can also get perks from your org if you do those things for the allies. There's like a whole system they're trying to build where you work for your org's allies that are in-game and also the player allies you have. You'll have some kind of a loyalty meter associated with your organization based on how much you do around that org. And all this is going to be wrapped up in its own Mobiglass app. You got a calendar on there that shows you the events coming up, an events log about all the things that are happening, announcements and information. There's a lot that's supposed to go into the social side of this game. And it is due for an update. It's actually the oldest app in the Mobiglass right now. Started all the way back in I think 3.0, but possibly a little older. So like I said at the beginning of the game, it was built for the game at hand. 25 to 50 people in the server. Orgs weren't really a thing. There weren't events going on, there weren't factions, there was no reputation, crafting wasn't going to be in the game. There's just a different Star Citizen now, and clearly we need new social apps for it. So I do think this is going to see some pretty big movement in 2026, and hopefully you're excited for that, because I can't think of much more important stuff. There's a lot more actually to talk about when it comes to orgs, but I think the most important things that we talked about today are looking for group, a better friends list, better party and voice chat, and actual player reputation to let you know what the heck is going on in somebody else's head. This is a big one to look out for, so I'm going to keep you updated on it throughout the year. Keep an eye on this channel and the main channel if you'd like to know more, and check out the deep dive coming out in a couple days if you want to see a more deep dive into all this. And I'll see you guys in the next one.